can you really check your history and yourself?
Stop playing politics with my punani. Stop playing politics with my punani. Hey, 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 Republicans. I see you called on your fellow man. All dicks and no nuts. Then you rush to call me a slut. I'm standing up for what is mine. Call me the rib, but I'm really the spine of this whole great nation. Ain't gonna put me back on the plantation. No, stop playing politics with my punani.
Hello. Welcome back to Punanny Politixxx. I am your host, Shelley Nicole, and I'm excited to be here for, I cannot believe, our 6th episode of Punanny Politixxx. Like, 6. I got a real show. So I'm here, me and my yonis, we're here together again because, I need my yoni power to get through the days, many days these days. So we are here, and it is the full moon in Aries. Man, this full moon, these full moons, they've been really kicking. And, we're going to have 2 full moons in this month of October. So the first one is tonight and the last one is on Halloween. So, we have the bookends of a full moon. So yeah, get into it. We are in it. We are in Libra season, and it's quite a time. It is what it is. So usually when I start off, I like to sort of be like, all right, what's the news? And I'm not, giving a whole full broadcast of news. Don't worry about it. I'm not going there because there's a lot of things that like I won't watch. Like I didn't watch the debate, all these things just because I'm trying to keep my sanity, right? But what is going on? So I'm always a little stumped at like where to start because I'm trying to like, let me go with like the tough stuff, and then we can get into like, some lighter things, I guess is the way to say it. So what has happened over the last week? Well, it's interesting because the very first broadcast that I did, the sister that I honored was Breonna Taylor. And every week, like since that broadcast, I feel like I have had something to say about Breonna's case. Like every week, like something unfolds, something, whether it's like news that is breaking our heart or it's like news of like, what the fuck, like what is happening? I mean, it's all very much what the fuck, but you know what I'm saying? So I'm back here talking about our girl. And so over this past week, of course, we know last time we spoke, that's when like the indictment, non-indictment really came down for the one officer, and the other 2 officers, nothing for them. But, even what happened to, the one officer was just trash. Like it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? We all know that. But of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but yes, I should, because, Tamika Mallory, of course, she's going to come. She's going to let you know what's going on. So this week, she gave it to this dude. Yes. Because he's a mess. Daniel J. Cameron, the Attorney General of Kentucky, just hot mess. You know what I'm saying? And really, like, I'm not even going to let, say it. I'm just going to let her say it. So this is basically what Tamika had to say to this herb right here. Anyway, here we go.
He mentioned at the press conference, which I thought was quite interesting, that he's a black man. And as I laid and cried and hurt for Tamika Palmer and for Breonna Taylor and for Kenny Walker and for Janiyah, who we need to love up on. As I laid there and I thought about him saying he's a black man, I thought about the ships that went into Fort Monroe and Jamestown with our people on them over 400 years ago. And how there were also black men on those ships that were responsible for bringing our people over here. Daniel Cameron is no different than the sellout Negroes that sold our people into slavery and helped white men to capture our people, to abuse them and to traffic them while our women were raped, while our men were raped by savages. That is who you are, Daniel Cameron. You are a coward, you are a sellout, and you were used by the system to harm your own mama, your own black mama. We have no respect for you. No respect for your black skin. Because all of our skin folk ain't our kin folk.
So just in case you didn't hear what she said, all of our skin folk are not kinfolk. And I know that's hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's hard to really sit with sometimes. And I used to say to people sometimes, you know, everybody's not going to make it through the revolution. All of our skin folk are not kinfolk. It's hard, especially for me. Like, I'm all about like love, you know, we should love everybody. And I still believe that. But ever since I'm just going to say non-indictment, because, you know, they weren't charged with nothing that had anything to do with her death, right? Nothing, right? Ever since then, like, things keep appearing, like things keep coming out. All of a sudden, footage, the police cam footage, the shooting starts getting leaked. Jurors want to start speaking about what happened inside of that case. And I'm just, just saying that, Breonna's not resting. I don't think any of her ancestors are letting anybody sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not over yet. And I know that a lot of people, and probably the people in Louisville and state of Kentucky, thought, they were going to hand her family some money and then everything was just going to go away. Well, we're in a whole different energy right now. So if you're not familiar with Tamika Mallory, as I put up there, her organization is called Until Freedom. You can find her on Instagram. You can find her on, all over the internet. She's an amazing, really powerful sister doing the work, like she's on the ground. So support her, support that organization and the work that she is doing to bring justice for Breonna and everybody who is in need of justice at this moment, who is all of us, really. So moving forward. So no, I did not watch the debate. I did not watch it because I know what it is. Like, I know what it is. I know what it does. I know these games that these people are playing. I know that they're in they're just working to keep us afraid and keep us scared. And so, and in turn, like, stuck, right? And stopping people from, going to the polls and all these kind of things, So what am I saying instead? I'm saying, instead of talking about all this, I'm just going to say, hey, did you fill out the census? Because the census has actually been extended. Oh, we are in the hood. I hear the sirens coming down my block. So the census has been extended to October 31st. Hopefully you can hear me over these sirens. I'm going to pause. So the census has been extended to October 31st. So if you have not filled out the census, please get into filling out the census. I'm going to say this again. I say it every week. The reason why you want to do this is because people always talk about how there's not services in the community, not getting money coming into the community, all these things. Well, a lot of that has to do with the heads not being counted and us not doing it. So Brooklyn, I'm in Brooklyn, we're sort of really bad at doing the census for some strange reason. So if any of my Brooklyn folks out here listening, get into doing the census. Again, it's not about your citizenship. It's not about trying to, find out about your immigration status. It's not about trying to find out if you got a record, none of that. It's about counting your head. So get into it. Get into the census. It takes the census will literally take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops, depending on how many people are in your household. So what else can you do? you can vote. So you can register to vote now if you haven't already. You can vote early. If that happened in your state, you can get an absentee ballot. Get it right now. If you're going to vote absentee, do it right now. Plan for long lines. Listen, as I always say, we stand on line for all kind of things. Yes, I'm talking to my people, my Black people. We stand on line for all kind of things. We stand on line. So you know what? You can get your walking shoes together. You can get your picnic lunch. You know what I'm saying? You can pack the cooler, as they say, and get on out there and make sure your vote is counted. Or vote early if you can in your state. What else can you do? Well, as I was saying before, it's that kind of night out here tonight. As I was saying before, a lot of these arenas, a lot of the basketball arenas are opening up for early voting and day of voting. So if you feel like your polling station might be really overrun, you can check out NBA.com and find out where these things are happening. I'm going to pause again. I don't know if you can hear the sirens or not, but I don't want to yell over the sirens, so I'm just going to pause. So, you know, check out the list. You might, one of your arenas in your town might be open. You can, you know, check it out and maybe vote there. Again, they're doing early voting and they're doing day of voting at the arenas. And finally, so many great organizations that are giving people information about how they can volunteer, how they can help, how you can help to fight voter suppression, all these things. So vote.org, I Am a Voter, When We All Vote, Black Voters Matter Fund.org, and fairfight.com. Check them all out. Really great organizations. And then also, we need poll workers because we're still in a pandemic, right? And so a lot of the poll workers, if you are a regular voter, you know, most of the poll workers, when you go into your polling station, are elders, you know, folks who are retirees. So these are folks that probably should not be out, you know, in COVID, you know, situations all day long. So if you feel like you can volunteer to do that, to be a poll worker, volunteer. I actually volunteered. I'm actually going to be a poll worker. Yes, I am. And finally, the 2020 demo crew, a good friend of mine, Mia Pace, and her friends of activist friends, they started something called the 2020 demo crew. They are basically, you know, they are about getting, Joe and Kamala in, but they're really about flipping these Senate seats in these states that are in hot races. So in Kentucky, as we keep talking about Kentucky is a hot spot right now. So Kentucky, because you know that's where our man, or your boy or whatever, dude, Mitch McConnell is right now. We need to get him out. And also Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, we need to move him out. So now's the time. You know what I'm saying? Now's the time to get involved. As James Brown said, get on up, get into it, get involved, get involved, get involved. Yeah. All right. So something a little less serious, but you know, I was trying to find like the good news to share today, but I was like, I'm usually not one to go in for like celebrity news or any of that kind of stuff. Cause like, I don't know, it doesn't matter to me, but I was looking, you know, scrolling as we do through Facebook sometimes. And my friend Mai posted this video of Lisa Ray and DeBrat have, you know, and first of all, let me tell you how late I am that I didn't know that Lisa Ray and DeBrat were sisters. Okay, like I had no idea. I had zero idea. Like I'm like, okay, I've been watching these ladies since, you know, like what? I had no idea that these women were sisters. And so as we're in this full moon in Aries, we're in Libra season. Miss Lisa Ray McCoy is a Libra. Woo! All the things that you're going to hear about in the full moon reading today, like all came to pass. So I'm just going to say it was like, you know, there's a show Cocktails with the Queens. No, not that queen. These queens. And I love this too, because I'm like, Black people are doing things. I have no idea. This is how I'm just so not in the celebrity loop. But here they are, Miss Lisa Ray and DeBrat are sisters. Like I had no idea whatsoever. The hard part about watching the show, which was Cocktails with the Queens, was that I didn't realize that DeBrat had come out, and Lisa Ray, she doesn't have any problem with that. But I guess the fact that they hadn't really spoken in a long time, and that caused some real drama on the show that day. And I was like, wow. I didn't really know. And I felt away because I was just like, wow, it wasn't like they had, meaning, her other co-hosts had like set her up to have some drama. They really didn't know that her and DeBrat were not talking. So I just want to say, man, like, honestly, I just want to send them some love. Like, I really brought this up because not really to be like a gossip or any of that kind of stuff, but I could just see that Lisa Ray was really hurt that she wasn't, I guess, informed about, DeBrat's personal life, I guess in person, or like getting a phone call. And so it really caused some drama in that moment. So I know that sisters, it can be hard sometimes, especially if you got two sisters that are both in the spotlight. But I'm going to send these two women some real love, like not no fake, whatever, because I know that it can be hard to be in the spotlight and, be family. So sending Lisa Ray and DeBrat love. And like I said, I found out they were sisters. I'm like, how late am I? All right. And my final news of the day, of the evening, which really was amazing and good news, and you can still participate, is the fact that on YouTube right now, they are showing Sign of the Times. It's a New Year's Eve. Here's my boy Prince. They're showing it's a New Year's Eve concert from 1987. It's on YouTube right now. It's amazing. You can watch it. Miles Davis shows up and does like a special guest appearance. He's playing with freaking New Power Generation. It's amazing. And they did this, Paisley Park did this, released this in conjunction with the release of the expanded edition of the Sign of the Times album. So here's my boy Prince, my man. We miss you. There's a little Sign of the Times. I miss Prince, man. I just keep thinking, like, what would Prince be recording and making right now in these times? Like, I know it would just be some like magical, masterful stuff. So check it out. I mean, it's live. The live show, again, it's up on YouTube. It's Sign of the Times, New Year's Eve, 1987, going into 88. It was a really amazing show, I mean, Prince never gave a bad show. I think my biggest regret where Prince is concerned is that I didn't see him live enough. Like, I just didn't see enough shows. I wish I had seen more, but it is what it is. Life is what it is. So moving right along, we're at that moment. Like I said, it's the full moon. We're at the full moon in Aries tonight. We're at the first full moon of two full moons this month. We are still in Libra season. And here we go with our full moon in Aries forecast.
The harvest full moon in Aries on October 1st is the first full moon of the fall and the first of two full moons this October. This lunation will inflame fiery emotions as the moon in Aries opposes the Libra sun. We will feel a sense of heightened urgency that our individual needs are met, even as the sun seeks compromise, peace, and harmony. Some of us may find we want to be starting something, and not necessarily in the most positive sense. The planetary backdrop for this full moon is what many astrologers are referring to as a difficult sky, predicting that the full moon comes during another tough week. Mars continues its retrograde transit of Aries and makes tense aspects this week to restrictive Saturn and destructive Pluto, both in Capricorn, meaning that they are at the nearest points of their orbits to Earth, making their energies felt most strongly. While Mars is passionate and potentially combative, these energies are repeatedly frustrated while the planet is wandering retrograde. We will be faced with situations, institutions, and individuals which seem indomitable. The very atmosphere of 2020 since January has been attributed to these outer planets in Capricorn. Mercury has entered Scorpio and will relentlessly seek to unearth truths, wanting to call others on their BS. Some of these truths, however, will be painful, especially for anyone who has concealed them. With all the despair in the air, venomous words may be on the tips of many tongues. The Aries moon will not help us to take pause before we speak. In the event that you have the strong urge to deliver a piece of your mind, call upon the Libra sun to help you weigh the consequences before speaking or acting, especially since afflicted Mars is not in the best position to win. The saving grace of this week's sky is Venus in Leo, forming a harmonious aspect to Mars. As frustrated, defeated Mars conjoins Chiron, the wounded healer, in an aspect which can bring long-ago hurts to the foreground of our minds. It would behoove all of us at this time to seek comfort at the breast of Venus, ruler of Libra, turning to the feminine principles of receptivity and creativity, however they may be embodied for us. Tune into romance, whether by listening to elegant romantic music, watching a rom-com, pampering yourself with aromatherapy, or sharing romantic moments with a loved one. If, like so many of us these days, you find yourself alone, get a little romantic with yourself. Dress up and treat yourself to a candlelit dinner. Just be careful not to burn down the house. This week's Full Moon in Aries reading was brought to you by Moist Paula at Zodiac Soundtracks. Welcome to the Full Moon in Aries.
Yes, full moon in Aries. Whew. We are feeling it. So I'm excited. We are in Libra season, and coming to the stage is a sister who is a Libra and somebody who's been a good friend of mine in these trenches, in these art trenches here in New York City for a good long time. So welcome to the stage, Liza Jessie Peterson.
Hey, girl.
Hey, Liza. I bring everybody to the stage because I'm like, I miss the stage. You know what I'm saying?
Me too, girl. Yes.
So I'm so excited to have you here. This is, you know, when I was making my list of people, I was like, you were right there on my list for this first season of my show. So I'm so glad you are able to be here.
I'm so honored to be a part of your show. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. I'm going to do what I do to people sometimes. I read a little bit of their bios to embarrass them a little bit because I love them. And it's not really to embarrass them, but like to let everybody else know how fly and fabulous my friends are. So Liza Jessie Peterson is an artivist, an actress, playwright, author, and poet. Her critically acclaimed one-woman show, The Peculiar Patriot, premiered at the National Black Theater in Harlem, was nominated for a Drama Desk Award, and received a generous grant from Agnes Gunn's prestigious Art for Justice Fund. Liza performed the Peculiar Patriot in over 35 penitentiaries across the country. She recently performed at Angola State Penitentiary in Louisiana for a live audience of over 700 men and was live streamed throughout the entire prison, which currently is in development for a documentary. Liza is author of All Day, A Year of Love and Survival, teaching incarcerated kids at Rikers Island. She was featured in Ava DuVernay's 13th and was a consultant on Bill Moyer's documentary, Rikers, an American Jail. Welcome again, Liza Jessie Peterson.
Hey, Shelley. Oh, so good to be here. I mean, I know it's like virtual, but just to see your face, it's good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's like, you know, I love having folks on who I have known for a while and really just seen the growth. Like I think about the Peculiar Patriot. Well, let me go back really. I remember when you really started at Rikers. Like I remember like when you started to go there as just, you know, as you say, just as a teaching artist, you know, as a poetry teaching artist. And before you got into, as the book says, All Day. Yep. So can you tell folks, just because I know everybody doesn't know you, I know your whole story, but I'm just going to go back a little bit. So just tell folks like how you ended up working at Rikers Island and doing those poetry workshops with young people. So yes, you can get into that.
Yeah, you know, I always, you know, tell people when I started teaching at Rikers, it wasn't something that I signed up for. It wasn't like I was on some, you know, altruistic, oh, I want to go and, you know, help the kids, freedom writers. You know, I wasn't on that. Like I was in these streets, poet, struggling, hustling. I need to make some money. And so I got associated with this non-for-profit organization which sent poets and writers into the different schools throughout the different boroughs as teaching artists. And my very first assignment that they sent me to teach was at a school called Island Academy. Now, this is back in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
So the New Jim Crow, Michelle Alexander's book, New Jim Crow, had not come out yet.
Right.
Mass incarceration was not language that we were using. You know, social justice was not a thing, was not, you know, nobody was talking about jail and prison, right? So the first school that I got was called Island Academy. I'm so naive. This is in 1998. I'm thinking, okay, this must be like, you know, private school, you know, like Frederick Douglass Academy, you know, the young, talented, gifted, and Black children. You know what I mean? Little did I know that Island Academy was Rikers Island. That was the name of the high school located at Rikers Island.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to jail. So, you know, so I go in and, you know, I was supposed to do a 3-week workshop because that's how teaching artist gigs work. You do a couple weeks, you have an end of the session celebration, you do little poetry books for the kids, and then you move on to another, you know, school, and you do the same routine. And it was my first week there. I'll never forget. There was a correctional officer, and he said to me, he said, "You don't know where you are, do you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm at Rikers Island. Like, you know, what? You know, I have a little attitude. Like, you know, I'm at, you know." Right. So he said, "No." He says, "You're on a modern day plantation." And he pointed to the boys that were walking down the hallway. He goes, "That's the new crop. That's the new cotton." Now, again, this is 1998. So the whole, you know, jail, prison as plantation, that metaphor had not been unpacked.
Right.
The way it is now, right? Now we have this language, we're making all these connections. So I was like, what? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, when you go home, he says, you put prison industrial complex into the computer. See what you find? He goes, when I see you tomorrow, we're going to have a conversation about it. It was a black CO. Right. He literally boot kicked me down the rabbit hole of just all this information, and, you know, lit a fire in my belly. And I came back to, you know, Rikers the next day. I was like an evangelist. I was in the class with the boys. I'm like, y'all not gonna believe this, you know. And so as I was learning, I was teaching them as I was getting information. So my classes just turned into this whole, like, you know, political poetry, rap session, you know, class. And I wound up teaching at Rikers Island as a teaching artist for 3 years straight. I became the poet in residence at Rikers because all the teachers kept passing me around. So I never went to another school. Right. Like, we want to next, because I was resonating, like the class was resonating with the boys. Mm-hmm. So they were like, yo, Sister Liza on that shit, yo, man. You know, she on that
shit. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting you talk about that, because when you talk about the language not being there, like I think about, you know, I don't know how old I was or what point in my life I was when I started really learning about like the school to prison pipeline. Mm-hmm. You know, that, and that's probably what you were, you know, really seeing in that moment was that school to prison pipeline, you know, mm-hmm. And that's young kids that you're seeing, you know, come through there. And again, like you said, I think the only person who was really, of course, talking about the prison industrial complex was Angela Davis, right? Like she
exactly
right. And so you would hear, I remember hearing like you said, it wasn't in the zeitgeist, so to speak. It wasn't everywhere. You had to really be in certain conversations in order to really hear that language of prison industrial complex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually her book, Are Prisons Obsolete? That was my Prison 101 first book. You know, I did my research online and I just kind of got like really open. And then I started reading her books. I was like, oh, wow. And, you know, prison industrial complex was the term of the day. Now it's mass incarceration, social justice. And so now everybody had the spotlight on is talking about it. But back in 1998, wasn't nobody talking about it. Right. You know? And you know, by extension, that's why my play, when I finally did write my play, Peculiar Patriot, that's why I wound up touring it in like 35 prisons because the theaters were not trying to touch it. It was not social justice and prison and a love story, and it was too taboo.
Yeah.
It was they were not ready for that conversation, and they were not ready for the way that I was delivering it.
Yeah.
So I just leaned into the love, and the love, ironically, was in prison.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, in the early days of the Peculiar Patriot and going to see it like in your early workshop days and, you introducing Betsy LaQuanda Ross to the world. So please tell folks about Betsy LaQuanda Ross, because, I know folks don't know, and they're saying, and I know somebody's looking at the screen like, who?
So when I was thinking about like the Peculiar Patriot, right? And I thought about like how Betsy Ross, the one who was given credit for sewing the flag, even though we know she probably had a black woman sew the flag. Right. But Betsy Ross is, the white patriot who was given credit for sewing the flag. And I said, well, we patriots too. I said, we sew. And so I said, well, how can I blacken it up? I'm being politically correct. NIGG, right? How can I,
You're right.
And I said, LaQuanda.
Right.
I said, she's Betsy LaQuanda Ross. I said, she's a patriot. And instead of sewing a flag, Betsy LaQuanda Ross, she quilts. Because when I was teaching at Rikers Island, there was a social worker there, and her name was Miss Peterson too, ironically. And she used to teach sewing class, quilting class to the girls, to the adolescent girls. And I was like, that is so deep. And so she was the one who hit me to the legacy and of the tradition of quilting.
Wow.
And she was doing it in jail with the girls. So she was the inspiration for the quilt. And I said, wow. I said, instead of Betsy LaQuanda Ross sewing a flag, she's sewing a memory quilt for all of the people who have been incarcerated in her life.
Wow. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. And I love that, like, she's also a pinup. Like, she's like a pen pal, you know what I mean? Like, she has decided to love on these brothers who might not be, have anybody come visit them or have anybody caring about them, but she's there.
Yeah.
And, I know that you worked with the young people, but how did that expand into, I guess, having this whole idea about the LaQuanda Ross and her being this pinup and her being the person that goes in, and what is her story?
So, the story is kind of sort of a little bit, but not really autobiographical. So there are elements of me and my life in it. There are elements of other people in it. But I was dating someone, and my boyfriend at the time was serving time in a federal penitentiary. And in order to go visit him, this is my first time, going, because before he was at Rikers, and they moved him to MCC, which is the federal jail, like equivalent to Rikers, and then they moved him upstate. So when they moved him upstate, I had to figure out a way to go and see him. So there's a bus service that leaves from Columbus Circle at 12 o'clock at night. Now, this is my first time going. I'm going to go see my boo, right? I got my little bag, everything packed up. So I go to Columbus Circle at midnight. When I get to Columbus Circle, there's a fleet of buses, hundreds of people. This is at midnight, old women, mothers with babies, children. Like, it just blew my mind.
Right.
And I knew in that moment, and the buses were going to all the different correctional facilities upstate New York. So you get on the bus, you ride, 4 or 5 hours to get to the, facility. You sit with your loved one for a couple hours and get back on that same bus and drive back to the city another 4 or 5, however many hours it took. And I said, wow. Like, it just struck me. I said, wow, this is one of the greatest love stories never told. Like, It's nothing but love getting on that bus at midnight at Columbus Circle, packing those buses, going up to see somebody for a couple hours, getting back on that bus. And we're looking at these people every day on the subway, in the street, and we have no idea that maybe they just came back from a 9, 10, 12-hour trip to go see somebody, you know, for a couple hours that they love. And so that's what inspired the love story aspect of it, you know? And so, you know, just having a loved one incarcerated, you know, my boyfriend, and, you know, he's sending me pictures and I'm sending him pictures. And, you know, it was really interesting. And so that's where the inspiration for Betsy going to visit, because the people, the family members, they really inspired me. I said, this is a love story. Because, you know, family members, loved ones, friends, you know, I met a father, he went to go see his son every week, and every week they played chess. That's all they would do. He would just ride on that bus to go play chess with his son.
Wow. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's, you know, as you talk about being one of those people, like I have been one of those people, you know, I had a friend whose husband was incarcerated, and we used to go and we would perform. You talk about those poetry days, you know, in the 90s, and we would go and we would perform and we would do our poetry for the brothers there. And it's just what you said, right? It's just what you said. It's like a love story. It's really that, you want, you know, people want to make sure that their folks still know that somebody cares.
Mm-hmm.
That somebody's still thinking about them and looking out for them. And it's real. Yeah, it's so real. And it's like you said, it's that story that nobody was telling until you started telling it.
Yeah.
Until you started telling it. So like you were saying, Liza, in the early days of your show, like you saying, these theaters weren't really trying to mess with you. So when did you feel the tide turning? Or did you? Or was it one day you just woke up and somebody was like, we get it, or we want to do something with it, and you were like, what? You know, so what was that?
Yeah, it was actually a combination of events. First, it was Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, just cracked, you know, the conversation open and put language into the lexicon, the new Jim Crow, right? The new Jim Crow. So she made that connection with slavery, and also mass incarceration. So now people are reading and people are talking about it. So, and when I read the book, I said, wow. I said, I did the live play version of the book. So it's like, if you don't want to read the book, come see the play. You know what I mean? Come see the play. You're gonna be inspired to read the book. So we were, you know, talking the same language. And then after The New Jim Crow came out, then Ava DuVernay's film 13. So those two things just catapulted the conversation into the stratosphere, into the zeitgeist. And then now everybody's like, oh yeah, social justice, mass incarceration. Great, I get it. And so now I started getting grants, and I started getting, oh, can you submit that play? Okay. Yeah, it's been out for 15 fucking years.
Right.
But, so now I can really develop it the way it deserves to be developed.
Yeah.
And so then money just started pouring in, development started pouring in. And then when I got development money, I was able to bring on a director, a dramaturg, and really lift it. Because it was just me on stage and a quilt, and I'd be in a hallway, a cafeteria, wherever I could, you know, find space to perform in jail, right?
Yeah.
Or a lunchroom, a hallway. But now when I had money, I could actually do round tables. I could have development team. We could think about light design, sound design, set design, like real theater, like the things that playwrights need and deserve. I was finally able to get, because now people were ready to have the conversation about prison.
Right. I have to say, Liza, like you and, you know, a lot of the folks that, you know, we came up with here in New York, in the poetry, writing, music, you know, circles, like so many of us just are very laser focused about our own work. You know what I mean? Like I think about your career and how you really just like, I'm doing this. Like this is, you know, what has been put on me to do. And you really have not veered away. And I know you've done other things. Like I know you've been in some films. I know you've done some other things, but like this particular thing has been such a, I guess just for me, just watching you really do it and watch it just grow and expand has been, I'll just say really beautiful and amazing, just to be straight up. And I'm, I'm glad that the people finally caught up because we've just been doing this really important work for so long, and it's so necessary. And I'm really thankful. I just want to say, I want you to talk about rather because I know it's being developed into a documentary, so I don't know how much you can talk about it, but when you went to that prison, that Angola prison in Louisiana, and I remember when you posted like a few pictures and you said that it was like a real moment there for them. So, like, can you talk about that?
I can. Part of the reason why I think I've been doing this work and have been like an evangelist with this subject, with this cause, is because when I was first kicked down that rabbit hole in 1998, and I read and I started researching, I said, how this is the greatest human rights violation right in front of our face. And I knew that I had to do something. I said, God is using me as like the Paul Revere to like, wake up the sleeping giants and to bring awareness to it, because it's so draconian, it's so painful, it made me so angry, it made me cry. Just how when we look at what's going on in our communities, how decimated they are, the prison industrial complex, mass incarceration is at the root of it, and at the root of mass incarceration is, white supremacy. And so I knew that, I felt like I was, David, and I had like a little slingshot with my play, but I'm like, I'm gonna hit this motherfucker in the eye, And so, in January 2020, I had an opportunity to bring the play to Angola. Now, Angola Penitentiary sits on 18,000 acres of plantation. It used to be a plantation in Louisiana. It was an actual plantation.
Wow.
With slaves, with the big house. And it was called Angola after the slaves, the Africans who were from Angola.
See, I was wondering about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, carry on. Because I was really wondering. Okay, carry on.
So, before I even had the opportunity to go to Angola, in my play 20 years ago, the character Betsy LaQuanda Ross, I incorporated that, like, to do her backstory, that her father was a former Black Panther, and that he served time and was killed at Angola. And that was my way of my nod and salute to the Angola 3. Research, Google the Angola 3, right?
Yeah.
These men who served like 45 years in solitary confinement.
Wow.
40, not 45 months.
No, I hear you.
45 years in solitary confinement at Angola. Okay, so fast forward to now January. So I have an opportunity to go to Angola. I'm like, oh my God, I talk about Angola in my play. Like, I feel like it's a homecoming. Like, I have to go to Angola. This is going to be such a great, for me, like saluting, the men at Angola. And I'm gonna just do the truncated version.
Yes.
I was able to bring a film crew to film it. So we're filming. We got the okay to film it. The day before, we got this great B-roll footage, interview, meeting with the brothers, talking. We're setting up. I'm in the chapel, rehearsing. Day of the film, they told me that I couldn't film it. What are you talking about? I couldn't film my performance. What are you talking about? That was the whole purpose of me coming here and filming it, was to do the show and document it. So they said no. But they were allowed to let their they had like a TV station, right?
Mhm.
Their own internal TV station, because I think it's like 7,000 incarcerated men housed at Angola. And I was performing in the chapel for 600 to 700 men, right? But it was going to be live streamed through the entire prison. So if you were in your cell, in your day room, you could watch it on TV. And then there was a group of live men, you know, watching it.
Yeah.
Men in the audience.
Yep.
I said, okay. Halfway through my show, after I did the manifesto, right? Because like the first half of the show is like really political. Betsy's like, she's getting all politicized. She's learning about the prison industrial complex, right? So she's punching him in the face. She's got a boyfriend named Pablo who's like real political. He knows what it is. He's breaking it down. You know, crack a devil this, bam, bam, bam. You know, black love is kryptonite for white supremacy, bam, bam, right? So the brothers are loving it. They're like, yo, right? They're having a ball. After that, the next scene, it kind of goes into the love story. So, you know, I go backstage and change my little Ziploc bag, you know. And there's CO with the host and said I had to stop the show. Huh? They cut my show. They cut the show. I've never, ever had my show cut.
Right.
So I said, oh. I said, okay, they didn't like the material. Because the last thing I say, you know, I was like, you know, what I say? I said white supremacy. I said black love is kryptonite for white supremacy. Bam, bam. And they put that shit right. So the guy comes out, he goes, oh, I'm sorry, you know, there's been an emergency. We have to stop the show. All 700, I mean, the chapel is packed. They're like, boo. Now, the brother who bought me, they love him, right? Because he was formerly incarcerated. So
okay.
They know it wasn't him, but the white CO sent him out to deliver the message, right?
Uh-huh.
Boo, we know what it is. Oh, let her finish the show. Now, I'm backstage, right? So I hear all this commotion. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go out and at least do a curtain call, you know, bring closure. You've been to my shows, Shelley. When I finish my play, my curtain call is very standard. It's very kind of namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Right. You know, grateful for people coming. I came out on stage. I don't know what it was. I do know what it was now. Spirit just jumped in me. I saw all those men. I went to the stage. I said, boom, and I put my fist in the air. All 700 men jumped up. They put their fist in the air and started going, Liza, Liza, Liza. Yo, the COs start going crazy. They're like, yo, sit down. Camp C, line up. Camp B, line up. Right? They're trying to get them out the chapel, right? Because they're like pumping their fist. Liza, Liza. Yo, it was crazy.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, them white COs, they was looking at me like, I'm telling you, if it would have been 20 years ago, I would have been lynched.
Right.
They were looking at me like, oh, we're gonna lynch this nigga.
Right.
For him, I mean, I felt that energy, but I realized now I'm looking, but I didn't realize what was happening. I'm on a plantation, an actual plantation. I'm bringing a message about, you know, for like to wake the sleeping giant. So I'm in the legacy of Harriet Tubman, right? I'm bringing that message, like to free the slaves, their mentality, right?
Yes.
I'm in the master's house on his land. I'm calling him crack the devil to his face. I'm giving empowerment to the slaves, my people.
Yes.
The devil's house. So it was like my ancestors and their ancestors it was like I kicked something up.
Yes.
They were like, cut the fucking show. She got to go because they was whipped up. And it wasn't like they were just like being empowered and, you know, but the message, they were like, no. We got a way of life down here. And you about to wake up these sleeping giants, and we don't want these sleeping giants. We like our slaves asleep.
Yes,
I was waking them up.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so okay. I know there's some folks out here that are watching that haven't seen it, haven't heard it, and I know that like Peculiar Patriot is on Audible right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what performance was that from that the Audible show is, or did you just do it? Or did you just read the play for Audible?
No. I did a performance of it. I did it at Minetta Lane Theater. So they
recorded it.
There was 3 nights of performance, and they filmed the 3 nights and recorded all 3 nights in front of a live audience, and they take the best one.
Right.
And I just and I'm going to actually be filming Peculiar Patriot for broadcast.
Yay. Okay, so everybody out there, if you want to know, you want to hear these words and understand why these brothers were like, let's get up and burn this place down. The Peculiar Patriot is on Audible right now, like right now. So you can go, you can listen, you can check it out, you can hear it right now. So do that. I have, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I have all of Liza's information in the description, so you can always, go there and check it out. Please, this show is amazing. Like I said, I've seen it through so many incarnations, and I'm just so it's so right on time. It's so funny. Like sometimes we think like we're in these trenches and we don't know, and then you just don't know what's going to happen. And then look where we are. It's like you are like right on time. Like this moment, like this is the moment, when like everything is shifting, everything,
Yes.
So, okay. So you're recording it for broadcast. So that's coming soon. I also know you said that your book, so she has the book about her work at Rikers Island, All Day, A Year in the Life of Survival, Teaching Incarcerated Kids at Rikers. So that might be being turned into a TV series. Is that what you were saying? So tell us about that real quick.
So yeah, I wrote the pilot for the TV series, and my good friend Sonia San, anybody who's a Wire fan, she played Kima on The Wire. She read the book, she loved it, she got behind it. She's one of the executive producers, and so right now, we're taking it out and just shaking trees and seeing what comes of it. But I wrote the pilot, and so it's in development.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, if you don't have that book, the book is called All Day. You can find it wherever books are sold. Check it out. Amazing writing. Liza's an amazing writer. So the book is it's really beautiful, and I love it. I've read it. I love it. It's great. And what? So you also talked about my Black Love Manifesto. Tell us about that.
So I wrote this poem because I'm a poet. That's my foundation. Those are my roots. Is in poetry. From the Nuyorican. That's where I cut my teeth, at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and then my poet evolved into the playwright, evolved into the the author, and so I wrote this piece, and I called it Black Love Manifesto. And what's so deep is I've never written a piece this long. It's 15 minutes.
Wow. And
it moves in 3 movements, and it really came out almost like a stream of consciousness. So I knew, and it's so cinematic, because when I write, I don't know, it's just kind of part of my DNA. There's always some kind of character, or it's visual, and so I'm putting together this Black Love I've put together this Black Love Manifesto. It's scored by Chris Robb, who's an amazing composer. Yeah. And it's being edited now, so it's going to be 3 short films, like part 1, part 2, part 3. So in 3 movements, and it'll be 1 film, but we're going to release it, in
3 parts.
In 3 parts, yeah. And it speaks to this moment because the piece, in a sense, is really about remembering who we are. And yes, we know who the enemy is. We know who the devil is, right? But this piece doesn't center them. This piece centers us. Yes. And remembering our magic, and remembering how do we empower ourselves to deal with these motherfuckers. Yes. Saying, how do we conjure? How do we, our magic, our mysticism, our spiritual practices, you know, that we just take for granted because it's in us, you know, them brothers dancing on the train and doing all the backflips while the train is moving, like, I mean, like intergalactic, like, I mean, our mojo, our energy, our frequency is so, you know, like I said, you know, intergalactic is from the cosmos. Like, we're the first people of the planet. We're the parents of humanity. Like, we got to remember that. Like, these motherfuckers we dealing with, they are children. We got to remember that we are the parents. And you know what I mean? And we have to remember. So it's really like a call to remember.
Yeah.
You know, so that we can, you know, deal with these, you know, children that are really feral.
Yes. Well, you know, it's funny because that's what I've been saying, you know, like even in this moment, like when everything happened with George Floyd, and then suddenly, you know, the mirror is turned on to these folks, and suddenly they can see themselves, or they're trying to see themselves. And I'm like, you know, that's great and wonderful, but we need to remember ourselves. Because we've also been wrapped up into this system of white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism, and misogyny, right? So we are deep in it too. So we have to dig ourselves up out, you know, because we're not like all perfect, and we have all these things that you just talked about, but we also have been locked down in the mind, right? We've been locked down. So it's time for us to
listen, that Haitian revolution.
Yes.
Listen, let me tell you something. And I like just started kind of going back and like reading up on it and remembering, like,
yes,
they had, you know, like all the spiritual leaders who back in Africa, they was all fighting, and you know, this Yoruba didn't like, you know, this one and this one, blah, 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 right? All the different, but then boom, here we are on the boat. So they got all the spiritual leaders who was used to fighting in Africa, right? They was, you know, warring or, you know, disagreements, but they were like, listen, we got one common cause. All right, you pray to so-and-so, you pray to so-and-so, you pray to so-and-so, call your magic, call your spirits, you call them, I'ma call them, you call them, and guess what? They kick they fucking ass. That's what you gotta remember.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta remember.
Yeah.
I don't care if you Seventh-day Adventist. I don't care if you Catholic. I don't care if you Yoruba, if you Hotep, if you Namaste. Okay, get your shit. Let's get together because we got one enemy.
That's it. That's it. Yes. And that's how every time I look at the clock, I'm like, damn, but oh my God, thank you so much, Liza. Okay, I'm just gonna say again, just to give the you know, so please support Liza. All her information is in the description. You can find her on Instagram, Twitter, the websites. Get her book All Day. Go to Audible. Listen to The Peculiar Patriot. Everything will be broadcast soon. And whenever everybody who's been a guest on my show, whenever they have something coming, I'm gonna let y'all know. So when Liza's films are coming, I'm gonna let y'all know. Liza, I love you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for creating this space and for inviting me into your sacred space.
Absolutely. I am so excited for you. That's all, you know, I don't even want to say proud of. I'm excited for you. Like, you deserve this. This is a long time coming, and you deserve everything that is raining down on you right now. So give thanks. You're so welcome.
Oh, I appreciate you. I love you so much, Shelley.
All right, girl. Enjoy. I'll see you soon. I'm sure I'll see you around these hood parts at some time.
Oh, yes, girl. Yes, yes. And we got to get together for some coffee or tea in the hood in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Socially distance and do what we got to do and just have some FaceTime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Enjoy it.
You know why? Because look, we got some pots to stir.
Me too. All right, girl. You have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Yay, it was Liza. Oh my God. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode. That was amazing. I'm never gonna ever end this show in an hour. It's just, I can see that right now. But please, you know, support Liza. and check out all her work and really get into it. As you can see, she's amazing, brilliant woman. Yeah, get into it. All right. So before we close, as I do every week, I honor sister who we have lost. And this week I am honoring Miss Renisha McBride. If you're not familiar with Renisha's story, I'm just gonna give it to you in parts. I know you can read everything there. I'm not gonna read everything, but Renisha was 19 years old when she got into a car accident she crashed her car on the west side of Detroit on November 2nd, 2013. And she crashed her car into another car. When she got out of the car, she was disoriented. She was disoriented. I believe, 911 was called. They did not initially show up because that's what happens sometimes. As our public enemy once told us, 911 is a joke, right? So she wandered away from the scene. She was disoriented. She actually wandered back to the scene. She didn't, when was asked by people who were on the scene, where she was, she really couldn't say. She was really disoriented. Or as the person on the scene said, discombobulated. She couldn't remember her phone number, all kind of things. So 911 was called again. They came this time, but then they also did not, she wandered away again and was not treated. So I have so many questions about, I don't know, if I was at a scene and a car accident happened and I saw the person who was in the accident just start wandering away, I might try and get them to stay so that they could be looked at. So that's a whole other thing. So 3 hours after the initial crash, and all of this just is so, it's so, upsetting. But 3 hours after the initial crash was when she ended up on the porch of the man who ended up shooting her to death. So she went to his door to get help. And he opened his door and had his 12 gauge shotgun and just shot her in the face, and that was it. And he claimed that he felt that he was in imminent danger at first, or there's actually he changed his story a couple of times, to be honest. But here's the deal, right? I guess there had been some folks that had paintballed his van or something like that, and he was upset about it. So he was just ready. He was just on the ready. He just knew if somebody came to his door that whoever it was, he was going to shoot. So he didn't even ask. He didn't even say, who is it? He didn't, he just opened the door and shot her. Point blank, period. So he was, charged, arrested, convicted. He's actually in jail right now. Interesting thing is that there's a very fresh story happening right now. I think it came out either in September or August about him trying to get these charges dropped or changed because he was charged with manslaughter and I think murder too, if I'm correct. And there's something around this about double jeopardy and, but I think it's really interesting how folks will do these things. And then, I know everybody has a right to an appeal and blah, 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 blah. But I'm going to tell you, if the tables were turned, I don't care what anybody says. If a black man had shot a white girl on his porch, there wouldn't even be a question about him trying to get out of jail. Nobody would even be entertaining the thoughts. But, it's interesting because Renisha's parents do not believe that the situation was motivated by race because they really feel like he was just ready to shoot anybody because he was upset about his car or his van being paintballed. But, and he also tried to say he shot her accidentally. How do you shoot somebody accidentally with a 12 gauge? But anyway, I'm needless to say, Renisha was 19. She lost her life that night. And we're going to honor Miss Renisha McBride tonight. Hopefully I can get, yeah. We light our candles for our sisters. Remember our sister Renisha and all the sisters that have been lost, whether it's at the hands of police, at the hands of, white supremacists, the hands of misogynists, to homophobia, transphobia. Just remember our sisters. Say their names. Say their names. So I'm 5 minutes over. Not bad. Not bad. I always forget myself. So what do I need y'all to do? I need you to, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's not going to cost anything. I really need to get those subscribers up, so that I can do some more fun things on YouTube. That's what happens. You get the more people, that's the world we live in. And the more people that say like, the more things you can do. So just subscribe to the YouTube channel at Blackbush, youtube.com/Blackbush. You can find me also on IG and Twitter at Punanny Politixxx. I post a lot of things there during the week that I'm not necessarily talking about on the show. So you might want to follow me there too if you are a Twitter or a IGer. I'm just going to put this up just to talk about, again, I was saying, we want to flip these Senate seats. And these two right here, the Kentucky and the South Carolina, are really important. And even if you don't live in those states, there's ways that you can help. You can phone bank, you can virtually canvass, you can donate to people's campaigns, to their, to what they need to make this thing happen. So check it out. Amy McGrath is working to beat Mitch McConnell, and Jamie Harrison is working to put out Lindsey Graham. So get into it. And next week, what? We are having Sandra St. Victor on the show. We are having Sandra St. Victor on the show. And so just so you know, next week's show is going to be a lunchtime show. Why? Because Sandra lives in Amsterdam. So it'll be like 1:00 here, but it'll be 7:00 in Amsterdam. So all my UK folks and all my folks that are overseas that have been trying to see the show, but it's way too late for them. So they always have to see the rebroadcast. We are going to be live, on as they say, the GMT time. So we'll be over there. So Sandra's going to be with us. It's going to be at 1:00 p.m. I should have put that there. If you don't know who Sandra St. Victor is, you better start Googling and get into it because I'm very excited about that. So yay, Sandra's going to be on the show. And I think that's the deal. I think that is our show. This hour always goes so fast. It's like, I can't believe sometimes. So I'm really excited. Again, thank you so much to my guest, Liza Jessie Peterson. Support her work. Check her out. Always, vote, do the census, or register to vote. I know if you can vote early now in your state, get into it. Thank y'all so much. Wow. We did it again. Episode 6, full moon in Aries. Thank you again to my girl, Moist Paula at Zodiac Soundtracks, always bringing us the moon forecast. Of course, all her information is also in the description on YouTube and Facebook. Y'all have a fabulous night. I love you. And, my yonis love you too. Good night, y'all.